OpenClaw and Hermes are what I call the Gen 1 of personal assistant AI agents. The reason is that they have two major problems. First, they forget, which means the context window gets filled and the models start losing the thread. Second, they're absolute black boxes. You get the answer, but you're unable to trace any tool call, how the model's working. I'm introducing memclaw, which tackles both of these problems as a second generation AI assistant. In this video, I'm going to open two new concepts for you: observational memory and a span based observability layer. The interesting part comes when you combine all of this by orchestrating a team of agents that works 24/7. No setup tricks, nothing is pre set up. We just have an empty folder and let's build a team of agents from scratch and you can follow along. So we first simply create an empty folder and we clone the repository. Once we're done with this, we get the whole thing: the agents, the orchestrator, the observability, and the memory. We simply go into the clone folder and run npm install. So let me just tell you what this means. This means that you're getting a distribution of Mastra. The framework does all the heavy lifting, giving the agents memory, observability, tools, Teams, browser, tracing, all of it. And memclaw just assembles it into a runnable assistant that you can extend. Once we run npm install, the next thing we have to do is to run npm run setup. Once that's done, it's going to ask you for your API key and you can just put in your API key and you're done. You then have to go to your environment variables and turn on memclaw underscore team is equal to true, turn on memclaw underscore webhooks is equal to true. And there's a bunch of things here like that you have to turn true. If you see anything turned off or turned is equal to false, then you have to turn it to true. Then you have to come back to the terminal and to check if all the settings are adapted properly, you just have to run npm run doctor. And as you can see, it's going to tell you that your API key is set, your agent model is set, the memory model is set, the webhooks are set, and the multi-agent team is set. What this means is that now you can run the orchestrator and the team of agents instead of just a single agent. Now, for the sake of this demo, we're going to have a team of agents with the chief of staff agent as the orchestrator of these agents or the manager of these agents. And we're going to give these agents different abilities. And we're going to give the analyst agent the ability to manipulate, to work, to summarize with a spreadsheet, an Excel sheet. And for that purpose, I'm going to create a workspace. And in this workspace, I'm just going to add an Excel sheet that the analyst is going to work on. So this define specialist block is the entire agent. As you can see, it's a focused worker agent with its own individual memory. And you can see that in all of these agents, they are going to be managed by an orchestrator. But the orchestrator needs to know which agent to choose for what task and how to delegate tasks. So each agent needs to have a very concise and a precise description that allows the orchestrator to do the same. We've also given each specialized agent specialized tools that it can use. This is specially done to ensure that the agent has a very narrow context and it's only dedicated to a single task. So we've given this agent the spreadsheet tool. We've given the researcher agent a browser tool, which means that it can read the browser in real time. And we've given the Scribe agent the workspace so that it can read and write files to the workspace that we just saw. After that, we have a defined orchestrator, which means the supervisor agent that manages and delegates to the specialist agents that we just saw. We've given it a list of all the agents. Also given this orchestrator agent a shared memory, and that's it. It delegates, it manages, and it plans the entire task or the prompt that you give it, while each specialist agent keeps its own memory. In addition to that, a major part of this framework is going to be observability. And this is all it takes for building the observability layer for all of the agents. You can see that zero code traces back to the agent code. So this is all wired separately. Now the only thing left to do is to start your Mastra Studio from the terminal, for which you have to run npm run dev. Go and we're going to explore the Mastra Studio quickly, and you're going to see that the agents have already been defined in the agent section on the sidebar. And if you see, memclaw has a total of 9 tools. Chief of staff has 3 agents, the number of agents attached, which are the analyst, the researcher, and the scribe. And obviously the scribe is just writing and reading from our workspace, so it doesn't have any tools defined because this is Mastra's innate ability. I think Mastra came up with something that eliminates the use of the workspace just today morning, as I'm making this video. So I'm a little late, but this means that you get more features and you won't actually need the scribe after a point. I'm assuming I haven't explored that, but it seems excellent and a feature you should definitely use. In addition to that, there is an analyst that has 4 tools, which we just saw, and there is a researcher that has 2 tools that we just saw, just to show you that each agent is drivable independently as well, and they have their own specialist memory. Let me just go to the researcher agent and quickly show you some of the prompts that I ran and the fact that it's able to run the browser in real time. So we asked this agent to go to Y Combinator's Hacker News and tell us the top 3 stories. It went to the browser and it looked at the browser in real time and was able to find the top 3 stories that I've also verified. So it actually works. Now we want to put this under a team of agents. So we're going to run back to the terminal and we're going to open a new terminal window. And we're going to simply run npm run chat. And this is going to start the team of agents. This is going to start the orchestrator. And the next thing we have to do is to simply prompt the manager. It's going to go back to the bus. The bus is going to give the message forward to the chief of staff agent, which is then going to delegate. I think you can see that we gave this team of agents a simple task: look at my spending in the finances sheet, which is already in the workspace that we've added, and find one solid way to cut costs like that and write me a 1-page plan. This is a pretty straightforward plan. This is a pretty straightforward prompt, and our agent should be able to get this pretty easily. The bus send the message to the chief of staff. The chief of staff send the message to the analyst, and the analyst is now analyzing the costs. So we send in the prompt to the chat and look at my spending in the finances sheet, which is in the workspace. Find one solid way to cut costs like that and write me a 1-page plan. This message goes to the bus and it's then sent to the chief of staff, through which the chief of staff allocates this to the analyst because of the job description that the analyst has. The analyst gets the sheet and analyzes everything, and it's gotten some sort of an analysis here. It needs some sort of an approval to get the agent scribe to run. We have a way around that in the repository if you wanted to YOLO or dangerously skip permissions within this as well. So there is a method in the repository that you can use so that you won't need an approval. So you can check that out. It's baked into this example, and you can just have your coding agent tell it to look at this. After that, so you can notice that I'm not doing anything. I'm not picking agents. I'm not right. So you can already see that I'm not doing anything. I'm not picking agents, and I'm not writing prompt essays, and I'm not babysitting. The orchestrator that we defined with the list is routing everything. Now let's go back to our workspace and actually see if this Scribe has actually created something cool, and it did. But for the sake of visibility, I've converted to a PDF from the MD file. Now you can take a look at this and actually see that the Scribe came up with something that's pretty cool. I mean, if I give a sheet or a doc to Claude Code or Codex, they won't be able to create something like this because they really struggle with file-based actions. And this agent, because it was very narrow, the context was very specific, and it's being managed by an orchestrator, is able to create a very concise plan with a very vague and undefined kind of prompt. So if somebody tells you it's all about the prompt, they're lying. It's all about the orchestration. It's about preserving that context window, and it's about giving all your agents the correct tools. So here's the payoff for the overall observability. So now that you've gotten the final result, we should also talk about the observability that we got from that one single block. We already saw the traces for that one single prompt. And here's the payoff. The whole team, you can see, had delegations to the analyst, the researcher, and the scribe nested under the manager. And for the planning step, we had real reasoning about splitting the job. The analyst made a spreadsheet call with input, output, and under a second, it sent back the required result to the manager. So let's start with why normal memory fails. The naive approach is to keep the whole conversation and feed it back every turn. That grows linearly and eventually blows up the model's context window, at which point older messages get truncated and the agent forgets. The solution to this, commonly known as semantic recall, which is RAG over old messages, it helps, but it's retrieval. So it refetches raw old messages, which costs a bunch of tokens and pulls in noise. Observational memory works completely different. Observational memory is a different beast altogether. It has three tiers that solve the entire problem of the context window. Tier 1 are the recent messages, the raw facts verbatim. Tier 2 are the observations. A background agent, the observer, watches the entire conversation and distills it into concise, durable facts as it happens. Tier 3 are the reflections. A second agent called the reflector periodically compresses those observations into higher level summaries. So instead of a growing pile, you actually have a pyramid with raw at the bottom, distilled in the middle, and summaries at the top. Now, here's the entire machinery that makes it bounded. Recent messages accumulate until a specific token threshold is achieved. Then observer folds them, and then the observer folds them down into observations and clears the raw buffer. Observations also accumulate until they cross a specific threshold. Then the reflector compresses them into reflections. The result is a context footprint that stays roughly flat no matter how long you talk. While memory was the first mechanism that makes memclaw a Gen 2 AI assistant, observability is the second mechanism. The question that observability answers is what actually happened, and the trick is in the unit of work it records. A span. A span is a bounded unit of work, an agent's reasoning step, a single tool call, one delegation with a start, input, end, its outputs, and a duration. Spans nest, a parent span that can contain a child spans. That's the whole data model. The most critical decision is where the recording happens. Because we are using Mastra, this is happening at a framework level, unlike traditional systems where the code emits logs and it's based on what the developer decides to log, which sometimes might be very partial in terms of the overall coverage. But because memclaw records at the framework level, the observability layer wraps every agent and every tool once centrally. So every span is captured automatically. You'll see in our demo that the team code contains literally zero logging systems, and yet the trace is complete. That completeness is because of the structure that Mastra offers in terms of observability. Once you have a complete timed nested span store, the dashboard are just different lenses on top of it. Traces are one such lens where the nested span tree is there for one run. The metrics are one such lens where the spans are aggregated into tokens, cost, and latency. Logs are another lens, searchable, and each line is tied back to its span. I ran a bunch of prompts and I've been playing around with this for a while, but this is the one that's relevant to this specific prompt. And you can see that this is a nested span in terms of a trace, and you can see that the agent ran chief of staff. It has its own working memory. It also has its own observational memory. Then it called a tool that it has called the agent Scribe after the end, and it was processed. And the agent Scribe also has a working memory, and it also used an LLM to create that report. It also has an observational memory, and it wrote back to the workspace. So this keeps on going on. You can also evaluate these traces to see if it's calling excessive tools, if there's some sort of a wastage. So you can do all of that. And now, the best part about memclaw is the intersection of observability and memory, which is what takes this to a whole different level. And here's what ties it together: an orchestrator team members file. And if you want to go and see this, this is the researcher. So the researcher has its own memory, has its own tools, its own history, and the work itself, the one pager that we had the scribe write to the workspace, was just a single sentence in and a checkable document out. So one final instrument that we can see is the bus. Because I've been playing with this for some time, you can see that the request lifecycle is pretty long. There's in, the run started, the answer was out, it was completed, counted, and timed. The hops between the agents you already saw in the traces. So nothing here is a black box. Everything is observable. The major part that I've continued to harp on for the reason why this is better than the existing solutions out there is because if you exit a Cloud Code session or if you slash compact, your agent's performance gets considerably worse because there's a lot of context rot. It doesn't remember its past conversations. It gave me a very quick 4-step checklist. And you can see in the observability logs as well and evaluate this trace. And under a few seconds, the prompt hit the bus and the bus sent it to the chief of staff. Chief of staff has a working memory. So you can see that the chief of staff has a working memory. And in our last run, the chief of staff got the response from the scribe in its working memory. And because the context window did not get filled to the token threshold for which the observer would distill the working memory, the chief of staff was able to just pull that fact from the working memory. So without any recap and without any re-upload, the shared memory that we give the orchestrator holds the entire job. And the follow-up just costs a sentence, saving cost and also increasing output with a very fast response speed. We cloned it, we keyed it, we built agents in blocks, orchestrated them with a list, got full observability from one line of code, and the memory was there because of Mastra's framework. From an empty folder to this within a couple of minutes. So, to sum it all up, observational memory, in this case, a 3-tier hierarchy that keeps context bounded and lets you talk to an agent for as long as you want without filling the context window. A span model that records every unit of work that an agent does, and orchestration. This is what is memclaw. It's open source and the GitHub link is in the description, so you can go start building your personal assistants and AI agents with it. You should remember that I am not a professional developer, so if you do find any issues, add them and I will resolve the PRs. Consider this my contribution to the open source ecosystem that Mastra is trying to build, and hopefully more people discover this and find it useful and add more to it. Peace out.